Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, we're going to be looking at the fact that Lost Thunder is rotating. And Lost Thunder is, by a rather wide margin, the most impactful of all of the sets that are rotating out. Lost Thunder was absolutely huge. In some of the other sets, I've given you half a dozen big losses. In this video, I've got a list of 17 big losses, and that's because I've grouped some together and missed a few out. I could easily get to 25 if I wanted to. So we'd probably better get going, eh? So we are losing Ditto Prism Star. Ditto Prism Star is a card that I can't imagine many people being happy it's leaving. It is a one-of in your deck because it's a Prism Star, and it can evolve into any stage 1 whatsoever. Which means you can have a 5th basic if you're playing a 4/4 line, or if you're playing multiple stage 1s, you can have one that can evolve into anything. It led to extra consistency and better teching options. It will be missed. A card that I won't miss is Giratina. Giratina was amazing. Free energy, 130, put 4 damage counters on one of your Pokemon was fine, but the ability let you put it on the bench from the discard, dropping 1 damage counter on each of 2 of your opponent's bench Pokemon. Bearing in mind we also had Malamar to accelerate energy to it, though that is also rotating, and you had a Pokemon that just wouldn't go away, and dropped extra damage every time it came back. It got annoying. Naganadel is a card that I undervalued when I first saw it. It accelerates energy to itself, which I thought wasn't great, until I realised stuff like Quagsire can move it to the active, and Blacephalon can lost zone energy from it, etc., and it was at the centre of some of the very best decks we've had in the past few years. Lost March is going away, so Jumpluff for 1 energy does 20 damage for each of your Pokemon in the Lost Zone, other than Prism Stars. We also had Skip Loom that let you Lost Zone it and Hoppip under it, and then search for Jumpluff and just whack it down straight away. We had Natu that could also have Lost March, though it was for 2 colourless energy. We had Trumbeak that let you Lost Zone itself from your hand, and you looked at the top card of your opponent's deck, and if it was a supporter, you Lost Zone that as well. Not to mention Lost Blender, that let you put 2 cards from your hand in the Lost Zone and draw a card. Yes, I am well aware that we are still going to have Whimsicott and Cottony from Cosmic Eclipse, but they're kind of out on their own now. They might as well be rotating. Lost March is gone. As is Blacephalon GX, a superbly powerful attack that let you Lost Zone as many fire energy attached to your Pokemon as you like, doing 50 more for each Lost Zoned in this way. It worked well with Naganadel, you could accelerate energy with Welder, you could accelerate energy with Beast Ring, and frankly, you could do a huge amount of damage very, very quickly. Not to mention it had an attack that just let you discard one of your prize cards. If it was an energy, you could attach it, but more importantly, it was one prize card you didn't have to take. This one was good for a very long time. Zeb Striker is a draw engine that we're going to miss. Just lets you once during your hand, discard your hand, and draw 4 cards. And yeah, I know we've still got stuff like Chinchino, we've got other options, but some decks really wanted Zeb Striker. Zeraora GX has been good for a couple of reasons, and really has been, if not at least a one-of, a strong consideration for every Lightning deck since it came out. The free energy 160 doesn't really interest us very much, but the ability giving free retreat to any of your Pokemon with Lightning energy attached really does, and the GX attack for 1 Lightning energy that lets you attach 5 basic energy from your discard pile to your Pokemon in any way you like really does. This is a card that Lightning decks are going to want back. Girafarig, however, is there for stalling, annoying decks. 1 colourless energy, and you just get to take 2 cards from your opponent's discard pile and put them in the Lost Zone. It was a staple in Oranguru deck, so that is also rotating, where your opponent would try and just be recovering their good cards to try and take you down, and you'd be Lost Zoning it to take away their options. Speaking of cards that were good in Oranguru decks, how about Shedinja? Now, Shedinja was one of those weird Pokemon that you could actually attach as a Pokemon tool. But then when that Pokemon got KO'd, it didn't actually give up a prize. It was Life Dew, which was a 1 in your deck A-Spec, and that's one of any, not Prism Star, that are one of each, but as a Pokemon. But then you could recover it with stuff like Oranguru, so you just really were not giving up many prizes at all. Nihilego is a phenomenal one-card tech for a single Psychic Energy. If your opponent's got exactly 2 prize cards remaining, you get to choose one of their attacks on any of their Pokemon and copy it for 1 energy on a basic Pokemon. That's a little bit good. And I kid you not, my number 1 most missed card that I wish wasn't rotating is Granbull. This is the biggest loss of the rotation for me. 1 Fairy Energy, you did 160 damage, just so long as you had 0 cards in your hand at the time. And I tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, this was so much fun. With Arceus and Dialga and Palkia really coming back to the front. I mean, I literally did a video about this a couple days ago showing you how it went 7-0 in round 2 of that giant Limitless tournament. Granbull has been a great Pokemon since it came out, and I'm going to miss it greatly. Adventure Bag is an item card that lets you search for 2 Pokemon tools. In any deck that relies on Pokemon tools, this has been a good option and it's seen a lot of play. Custom Catcher has been a staple in a whole bunch of decks. If you play 1, you draw 2, you got 3 cards in your hand. Do not underestimate how good this can be after something like a late game reset stamp. But most of the time you play 2 together and you gust anything. And when your other options are things like Great Catcher, which only gusts GXs, and Pokemon Catcher that relies on a coin flip, this is a good option. Though there was one period where this was basically our only option and everybody played it. Lightning decks are getting a little bit weaker, unfortunately, if you play Lightning decks, because Electro Power that does an extra 30 damage from your Lightning Pokemon this turn is going, and Thunder Mountain that reduces your attack cost by 1 is also going. Yes, you can replicate Thunder Mountain by using Tapu Koko, Prism Star and Energy Switch, but it's not the same, ladies and gentlemen. It's not the same. And speaking of awesome Prism Star stadiums, Heat Factory Prism Star is also going away. You get to discard a Fire Energy from your hand and draw 3 cards. It ain't no Thunder Mountain, but it's still been a one-of in like every Fire deck, because why would you not? It's an extra draw engine. Professor Round's Lecture has helped so many decks. It lets you search for 3 Pokemon with 60 HP or less and put them into your hand. So you could even get evolutions if they were weak enough here, like Pidgeotto was a fairly common one we would use. And then we're losing Spell Tag. You attach it to a Psychic Pokemon, and when they're KO'd, you drop 4 damage counters anywhere you like. With Field Blower rotating and Tool Scrapper waiting until Rebel Clash to come back, we've actually had a period where your opponent cannot remove this, which means we've been dropping a lot of damage counters. Yay! If you're the Psychic player. And that's just the big losses. The cards that see, as I would say, a huge amount of play. This was a phenomenal set. So looking into You Used to Be Cool, cards that used to be good but haven't been for a little while, how about Shuckle GX? For a while, a very trendy stall Pokemon, because the abilities prevented all damage done by any Pokemon with 2 energy attached or fewer, though Power Plant did kind of screw this up by being a stadium that turned it off. The attacks were fine, triple poison and a GX attack that does 40 damage plus paralysis. It was really there for stalling, and while it was there, it did a good job. Sceptile GX was one that a lot of people tried to use for a while, and I did lose to this in a tournament, annoyingly. 1 Grass Energy, 60 damage, discard a Special Energy. 2 Grass Energy, 130, and you move your Grass Energy from this Pokemon to one of your benched. And then a GX attack that healed all damage from each of your Pokemon with any energy attached. When you combined it with stuff like Life Forest, Prism Star, and the Sceptile that made it immune to Ultra Beasts, when Ultra Beasts were a thing, yeah. Quite frankly, ladies and gentlemen, this was a pretty big deal. and a pretty good card. But don't sleep on the Grovyle that did let you search for a grass Pokemon and put it into your hand. Really helped with the consistency of that particular deck. Shaymin was another one that was a grass Pokemon and did healing. Just let you heal 20 damage from one of your grass Pokemon during your turn. And honestly, this was good in Celebi and Venusaur decks. It was really good in Celebi and Venusaur decks. For exactly one set until Welder came out, Fire decks became good and Celebi and Venusaur was never seen again. White Kyurem for a while was its own deck and a very good deck at that. Free energy, 80 damage, but if you've got any fire energy attached, you do 80 more damage. And this would be used with Arceus Prism Star, that for a single colourless energy let you attach free energy from your deck to your Pokemon in any way you like, if you had a Grass, Water and Lightning Pokemon on your bench. Well, White Kyurem was your water Pokemon, and you would use Tapu Koko, high HP basic free retreat, and Pheromosa, high HP basic free retreat, to deal with the other two that also had free retreat, which also meant if you started with them, you could retreat to Arceus Prism Star. Good deck for a while, but massively fell out of favour. Alolan Ninetales GX had an amazing ability that let you, when you evolved it, search for 2 item cards and put them in your hand. It was great for Stage 2 decks, getting Rare Candy and something to get you to Stage 2, but it went away pretty quickly. It did have a nice GX attack that got an automatic KO on an Ultra Beast, and you could, for instance, search for an Energy Spinner and a counter gain if you were behind on prizes, and then use that immediately, so you can actually play this with a single Fairy Energy in your deck and reliably get it rolling. It was a fun tech. Speaking of fun tech, Xerneas Prism Star, back when people actually played Fairy decks, was a great little one-off. The ability, when it moved from the bench to the active, you could move energy over, and then free energy 160. It was an easy to power up single prize attacker that did decent damage. Although sometimes it was dropped from decks in favour of Mimikyu GX, which was another one-off option in Fairy decks. Best thing about this, let Snuggle and Fall, 2 energy, 10 damage, plus 30 more for each damage counter on your opponent's active Pokemon. So if you had done a bit of damage to them, Mimikyu could come and mop up with a giant attack. And Lugia GX was also trendy for a little while. It's all colourless energy, so it could fit into basically any deck. Free energy, 30 damage plus 30 more for each energy on your opponent's active, or 4 energy, 170. It was alright. Also, free energy, put your opponent's active and all cards attached to it in the Lost Zone could be kind of fun. It fit as a tech into a bunch of decks, but fell out of favour fairly quickly. Moving over into fringe cards, these are cards that do still pop up here and there, but they aren't played in huge numbers. Now, we actually got the free Unknown here, Unknown Hand, which let you basically win the game as long as you had 35 or more cards in hand. And Unknown Damage to let you win the game if you had 66 or more damage on your bench Pokemon. Really were great cards that have been banned and expanded because they have led to some truly broken combos. Haven't got time to go into it in this video, but I'll link some videos in the description so you can check it out and peruse it at your leisure. Unknown Missing wasn't banned and expanded. If your opponent had 12 or more supporter cards in the Lost Zone, yeah, that one sucked, but the other two were like full-on broken to the point they literally got banned. Magcargo GX was a very powerful attacker. It did actually have an ability letting you reveal the top card of your deck, and if it's an energy, attach it to someone. Incidentally comboed beautifully with the Magcargo from Celestial Storm that let you search your deck for any card and put it on top of your deck. It had a GX attack that just discarded the top 5 cards of your opponent's deck, and this did for a while lead it to be very trendy in Mewtwo and Mew decks as a single energy option to mill your opponent if they got too low on deck size. But honestly, most of the time it was played for Lava Flow, 50 damage, and you discard as many basic energy from this Pokemon as you like, and do 50 more for each one discarded. It was a tech in Mewtwo and Mew, it was its own deck with the other Magcargo. It saw a fair bit of play. Meganium is another very trendy one. It's got an ability that lets you evolve a basic into a stage 2. Don't need the stage 1, don't need the rare candy, don't need to wait a turn. Every so often we see these decks come around with multiple stage 2s. Meganium is always part of it. Slowking is another one that's been very trendy in these energy denial, disruption, stall, call them what you will decks. 1 water energy, look at your opponent's hand and put any card you find there in the lost zone. It basically meant that you could take away their options before you played them and get yourself closer to giving them no options and you win. Mareep is a very fun one that's seen more and more play lately. When it's in the active, you get to put your opponent's active Pokemon to sleep. Combine it with Slumbering Forest, which makes your opponent flip 2 heads between turns to wake up, and you've got the makings of a very annoying Pokemon. We also have to say goodbye to Wobbuffet. Now this is one that kind of comes in and around. Its ability says that when it's on the bench, Prism Star Pokemon cannot attack and have no abilities, and this turns off stuff like Ditto Prism Star, like Tapu Koko, etc., that could actually really help out your opponent, so gutted. Except now Wobbuffet's going away. But so are all but 2 Prism Star Pokemon, so I don't know, you figure it out. Shuckle had a very nice ability that let you, when you bench it, just discard 3 energy cards from your deck. And it was quite nice for things like Alolan Executor, for instance, which did more damage depending on how much energy you've got in the discard. Incidentally, the one from Team Up is still going to survive the rotation, and that's going to be sad that Shuckle's gone away. Virizion GX was a fun little tech. 1 colourless energy, draw 2 cards. But it also had a really nice attack that put any number of your Pokemon in play and all cards attached to them into your hand. Really nice finisher in an unknown hand deck, as long as your opponent doesn't have something like a reset stamp, else you've wasted your GX attack. Alolan Meowth and Alolan Persian are particular favourites of mine. Alolan Meowth for 0 energy, if you go second on turn 1, does 70 damage, great for taking out evolved Pokemon, and Alolan Persian does 90 damage for 0 energy, minus 30 for each energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. Really nice for taking out bench Pokemon like Malamar, for instance, that just didn't ever want any energy on them. Umbreon is another one that I've played in numerous tournaments and is a huge fan of. 1 Darkness Energy, 120 damage if any of your Pokemon were KO'd last turn. Really fun combo with Spiritomb, though Spiritomb will survive the rotation and Umbreon won't. Tapu Lele is another one that's had a huge amount of potential here. When you attach a Fairy Charm to it, you may confuse your opponent's active Pokemon. Comboed really nicely with Meganium, that let you just pick up one of your tools every turn, so you could literally get every turn confusion, though Meganium is also rotating out. As are the majority of the Fairy Charms, more on them in a moment. And the final Pokemon I want to shout out here is Blissey. Blissey is one of those cards that people are always trying to make work. The ability lets you remove a special condition from your Pokemon, and don't sleep on that because it means you can combo it with Giratina using U-turn board rather than escape board, something to bear in mind. And the attack for 3 colourless energy minimum does 80 damage for each heads you can flip. And you get to flip 1 coin for each energy attached to Blissey. Works with triple acceleration energy, works with welder, works with anything, frankly, that accelerates energy. Never turned into a top tier deck, but it didn't stop us trying. Now, moving into the trainers, we're going to mention all of these because you never know what people are going to want to use and what they're not, though some of these are bigger losses than others. Ether Foundation Employee is not a big loss. You put 3 Pokemon with Alolan in their name from your discard pile into your hand. Would have been amazing if we'd ever got a great Alolan deck. We didn't. Choice Helmet is a fun Pokemon tool that reduces damage done to you by 30. It's seen play in a bunch of tankier decks since it came out. Counter Gain, if you're behind on prizes, reduces your attack cost by 1 colourless energy. Again, it's seen play here and there, but it has fallen quite a lot out of favour. Faber lets you take either a Stadium or a special energy or tool attached to one of your opponent's Pokemon and put them in the Lost Zone. Trendy and Oranguru decks are only option lately for getting rid of tools, but it's been very much a 1 or 2 of tech in a few fringe decks. The Fairy Charms are mostly going away. We're losing Fairy Charm Dragon, Fairy Charm Fighting, Fairy Charm Grass, and Fairy Charm Psychic. When attached to a Fairy Pokemon, they prevent damage done by EX or GX Pokemon. But to be honest with you, Fairies aren't big right now. EXs are rotated out. GXs are getting less popular as Pokemon V get more popular. And we have actually kept Fairy Charm Ability and Fairy Charm Lightning, which are probably the 2 best ones right now, because they give you immunity to Pikachu and Zekrom, and Mewtwo and Mew. We are incidentally also keeping Fairy Charm UB, but who really cares, ladies and gentlemen? Who really cares? Kahili is one of the few trainer cards I have not seen anybody play. You draw 2 cards, then you flip a coin, and if heads, as long as you played it from your hand and not with some kind of attack or ability, you get to put it back into your hand. Yay! Nice for having supporters in hand, but literally draws you fewer cards than how, so yeah, how was that ever going to work? Life Forest Prism Star, we mentioned a little while ago, heals 60 damage in all special conditions from one of your grass Pokemon. It was great in grass decks. Lucamine Prism Star, let you, if your opponent has exactly 3 prize cards remaining, prevent all damage done to your Ultra Beast during your opponent's next turn, as long as it was done by attacks. Good card, saw play in Ultra Beast decks. Mina was a fun one. It literally let you search your deck for a fairy energy and attach it to one of your Pokemon. Sneaky little tech in a bunch of decks, but it was very trendy in Gardevoir and Sylveon decks, just for getting the energy on and start attacking that little bit faster. Mix Herbs, as long as you play 2 at the same time, you heal 90 damage and all special conditions. And with Green's Exploration, it was actually a really nice tech in decks that didn't use abilities, because you could just search them both out and play them at once. Moo Moo Milk was a very fun one that really didn't see much play at all. Let you flip 2 coins, and for each head, it let you heal 30 damage from the Pokemon you chose. It only had to be 1, you couldn't heal 30 from each of 2. It just wasn't a good enough healing card. Morty was another one that saw very little play. You could only play it if one of your psychic Pokemon was KO'd during your opponent's last turn, but you could look at your opponent's hand and make them shuffle 2 cards into their deck. Good for disruption, but didn't see much play. Netball is going to be a big loss for grass decks. Let you search for a basic grass Pokemon or basic grass energy. So good in the early game, but it also got the energy if you had all your Pokemon out. Was a fun card. Sightseer let you discard as many cards as you like from your hand, and then draw until you've got 5 cards in your hand. It was really trendy in like Malamar and Naganadel decks for a little while, but I've not really seen many people play this lately at all. Wait and See Hammer was a really specific card. You could only play it if you went second and only on your first turn, and it let you discard an energy from one of your opponent's Pokemon. You wanted to play 4 so you drew it often enough to use it, but you only wanted to play 1 so you could only ever use 1. It did actually see play in Green's Exploration decks, because it allowed you to search it out if you went second and had Green's Exploration, which you often would. Weird little side note, there is an Alolan Meowth that has an ability that lets you draw 2 cards if you discard a Wait and See Hammer from your hand, which is actually a really good card that would make it worth playing Wait and See Hammer as a 4 of, that never came out over here. I want that Meowth. Whitney was a very fun little card. It let you draw a card and then 2 cards for each other Whitney in your discard pile. Weirdly good in unknown hand decks, because if you had 3 Whitney in your discard, you drew 7 cards. And in expanded with Versus Seeker, this could be actually a really good supporter, though of course it's not rotating out of expanded. And finally, Memory Energy. It's a colourless energy that lets you use an attack from one of your pre-evolutions. It saw a bit of play here and there. I always liked it to use Luxray to copy Luxio's attack to item lock your opponent, but the fact of the matter was that was never a particularly big deck. It was nice to have the option though. And there we go. 25 minutes, and I kept it as short as I possibly could. Lost Thunder was a phenomenal set, and an awful lot of people are going to miss an awful lot of cards from this set. But now it's time for you guys to talk to me. I want to hear which of your favourite cards in the set, which you're going to miss the most, which you wish was still around. So go nuts in the comment section, but be nice, would ya? And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassyPlays, where you can find out about a whole bunch of games that don't have Pokemon in, but are pretty gosh darned awesome nonetheless. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.